Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome to M4J Racing here on F122. Last week was just the setup episode, getting things set up, choosing the team, co-driver, all that kind of thing. Say co-driver, you know what I mean, teammates, all that sort of thing. This week, stuff gets real and we actually start racing. Starting in, of course, Bahrain. Everyone starts in Bahrain and here we are with the one-shot quali. You have one chance and one chance alone to put in the best lap you can to find out where you are on the grid. Now, in the career mode I'm doing for racing games right now, the last qualifying session I did, I came 12th, which I was pretty happy about. And that was in a Williams. This is a garbage car. It's the MyTeam car, obviously. Really struggling, locking up a lot. At this point, I'm still learning how to drive the car and stuff as well, of course. The new aerodynamics, the new everything, really, physics to do with the car. The new game engine. Just everything is working against me, really. And also with no assists, no traction control, no ABS, I'm locking up into every corner and I'm losing traction on the exit of every corner, including riding that little curb there, which I don't think I did it in this mode. Again, I think I did it in the career mode for racing games, but I surfed that curb so many times. I think by the time I did it here, I was kind of used to how to avoid. Well, I say that I can't remember exactly what happened in the race, so you'll see in a second whether or not I was in fact used to it. This section here, last year I could not do this bit flat out, whereas this year I can, and I think that goes down to the new aero. They've made it so that you can go around corners faster and stick to the road, but slower corners you have less traction, which is where it encourages overtaking and driver error and things like that, which I personally am quite a fan of. I think the new aero regulations this year have been a breath of fresh air, as it were. But there's qualifying over, and of course I qualified in 22nd, which in a 20-man grid normally, that's not very good. Considering we're in a 22-man grid here, it could have been worse. It wasn't great, it wasn't terrible, but you know, it is what it is. I'm going to keep talking over Alex Jakes here, as much as I love his voice. I do just want to say, you know, not bad quali, but we're going to go into the race here, and hopefully things will turn out a little bit better.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at round one of this year's Formula One World Championship. There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best, of course, at turn 1 and then another soon after into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Russell, Carlos Sainz, and Perez. Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Norris, and Esteban Ocon. Magnussen, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, and Ricciardo. Joe, Gasly, Alex Albon, and Sebastian Vettel. Stroll, Liam Lawson, Latifi, and the engineer. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. And they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
So here we are then in the car for the first race start of the season, and I hate race starts. I just want to say that now. You see there, like, trying to get traction, the back end of the car wanted to go left there, whereas I wanted to go straight on. I did have to do a little bit of a flashback here. I think I just drove into the back of the pack. I hadn't realised they were braking so early. I've got the AI on a slightly lower difficulty, as you saw last episode. So, they do brake very early for some of these corners, which can be good news for me. They are incredibly fast on the straight still, as you saw there. Stroll just got away from me. That and the fact that I'm very ginger on the go pedal still. But because they brake so early into corners, I can really stick it up the inside like I just did there on Lance. The problem I have is mistakes, and I do make a lot of mistakes. So I've already got past Stroll once. Here he comes again. It's because I'm slow out of corner exits, and it's because, you know, I lock up it going into some of the corners as well. It does cost me a little bit. Here, again, sending it up the inside, but, I mean, he turned into me, but it was entirely my fault, so I stuck it up the inside and then locked up the brakes. So I am still ahead of him, but I'm not particularly proud of myself. And here he comes again to save the day. There's a known issue in this game that the AI on the straights are just extortionately fast. So there's not a huge amount you can do in that situation. You've just got to late brake, try and beat them on corner exit, that kind of thing. Send it up the inside. Get a little bit aggressive if you want. Get the old elbows out. I do get past Stroll again here, and I do just about make it through turn 1. You can see the 2 red arrows there, though. There comes Stroll. There goes Latifi. Again, just really slow on corner exit. Now, I'm playing with traction control off completely, but according to some of the drivers, medium traction control in this game is actually closer to what it's like to drive an F1 car. So I am toying with the idea of actually putting traction control back on, but at the same time, I am quite enjoying the challenge of driving with it off. I just need to be a bit braver on the accelerator without spinning the car. One of the problems might be my seating position still. I know I mentioned this in last year's game, where the way I'm sitting, I'm very lead-footed because I'm sort of sat forward in my chair. My pedals aren't really at the right angle, and I'm kind of using my ankle as a pivot. And I think that's the mistake, is you're supposed to like drive the car with your leg rather than with your ankle. So I reckon if I was to alter my seating position, I could probably do better, which is a very weird statement to make, but I genuinely reckon I could do better with a better seating position. I have, since recording this episode, actually tried out a full racing rig. My boss at Racing Games, Toby Durant, he has a full racing rig. We were there the other day, and I was trying that out, and I actually found it pretty good. You know, I wasn't the best. I still locked up a lot and things like that, and I basically burnt through an entire set of tyres. Not on F1, actually, but on Assetto Corsa. Burnt through an entire set of tyres on a 500R Bath, but I did eventually manage to stick some corners, and it was very, very satisfying. I was able to hold drifts and all sorts. So I think the ability is there. It's just the equipment right now is letting me down. And as we come around the final lap here in Bahrain, you can see as well that the car is just crap. The car you start off with in MyTeam, especially if you choose the newcomer, which is what I've chosen here, you're just crap. You're not winning races unless you put the AI on like 10. You're not winning races. I think I've got it on like 50 or 60 right now, just to start me off. I think I clipped the curb there as well, so that's why that's being cut out. Thank you, Tom. A little flashback there. I'm not against the idea of using flashbacks in this first season. Maybe as the seasons go on, I'll become a little bit stricter. Grid's got a good system, Grid Legends, where you can have a maximum of 3 flashbacks per race. And I want to see if F122 has that as well, because if it does, then, you know, obviously I will turn that feature on. But yeah, we finished 22nd, which, for the first race of the season, to finish dead last, it is always disappointing to finish dead last, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I did get some overtakes. You know, I overtook Stroll a couple of times. I got past Latifi once or twice. And there were some very satisfying moments. But, you know, I did let myself down a little bit as well.
What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit, familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again. So let's review the drivers' standings. And with today's impressive result, Charles Leclerc steps into the championship lead. Some amazing talent out there on track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I'll probably go for Pierre Gasly. The team did a good job with the strategy to put him in amongst the pack, but it's the driver's job to capitalise on those opportunities, and he did so with a lot of skill.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari take the lead at the top of the table. Well, that certainly was an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Alright, that's part 1 out of the way in Bahrain. Let's head over to the sunny state of Florida for the Miami Grand Prix for part 2 of this episode. Like I said last time out, we're doing 2 races a week this series, just to try and get things done a little bit faster, get through the first season, sorry, not series, get through the first season a little bit quicker, and get on to season 2 where hopefully the car will be a little bit better. One of the new additions to F1 this year is this, the Pirelli Hot Laps. This is part of F1 Life, which is divisive, should we say. Some people like it, some people don't. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole microtransactions to buy a set of sunglasses that you're never going to see your driver wear. But the Pirelli Hot Laps is actually kind of fun. The handling of the supercars is a little bit skew-whiff, but the reason I like it the most, and again I said this on the Racing Games video that I made, I actually use this as a chance to relearn some of these tracks. So I'd never driven Miami before. I've seen video of it, and obviously I watched the race, but I've never driven it myself, and I couldn't remember the track layout. So this was a good opportunity to not so much break lap times or anything like that. And God, I'm sliding all over the place. Tom did speed this footage up a little bit, by the way, just to... It was 4 minutes 20 in total. It took me to do these 2 laps. So, yeah, thanks for speeding it up. But yeah, I used it as an opportunity just to learn the track. So, you know, left corner here, right corner here. It's a hairpin here. It's a, 90-degree there. This section here is pointless. I hate this part of the Miami Grand Prix track. I want it to be gone for next year. That little chicane, though, I do actually quite like. It's just the stupid zigzag bit before that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know why it exists. It's something to do with... So the actual chicane bit is something to do with clearances. There needs to be 6 meters between track and any obstacles above. So that's why they built the track like that, was to get it up to the required elevation to actually get it over... under the freeway bridge. But apart from that, there's no reason why the rest of that needs to exist. There's no elevation change. It's perfectly flat. So I hate it, and I want it to be gone for next year. They can just easily go straight, little left turn, into the chicane, and then round into the back straight that you saw me drive down there. There is no reason for the twiddly bit to exist. But yeah, got gold in the Pirelli Hot Lap, which is always nice. The supercars, again, people have said they handle like boats. I think that's a little harsh. The fake marina on screen there, just as I'm talking. I think that's a little harsh. They're not the best, but considering, Codemasters do make Grid Legends, and they do know how to make handling for that type of car. But this is the F1 game. The physics engine is very, very different. So it's a neat idea. It's a little add-on. People don't have to do it if they don't want to. You can skip the Pirelli Hot Laps. But I like I said, I use them for a pretty valid reason, and I do find it quite fun just to drive something that isn't an F1 car for a bit, even if it's only for a lap or two. So I'm a fan. I am a fan, self-confessed fan. Some people might call me a sellout for that. I personally don't care. At the end of the day, the game is what you make of it, and I quite enjoy it. There are bits that I would still change, but for the most part, I do quite enjoy it. Here we are then with the one-shot quali of Miami. Now, this was the first time I drove Miami in an F1 car. I did then come and do the Miami Grand Prix again in the Racing Games career mode, which at this point I might as well link in the description because I keep mentioning it. And I actually had a really good race in Miami in that video. You'll check that out, I'm sure. Now I've said it, racinggames.gg, or I think it's youtube.com/racinggamesgg if you want to check out the video. But because here I'd never driven Miami before, I was a little bit scared, particularly again that chicane. Didn't want to spin out or anything like that, and ultimately it wasn't too bad. It wasn't the worst. I've done better, obviously. I might as well tell you now, I qualified in last again. That's going to be a recurring theme for the majority of these opening races of the season. But as the car does improve, and as I improve, our finishing positions will get higher. That's always the positive to take out of Season 1. You've got to start somewhere. And there we go, we crossed the line. I think we're 7 seconds behind the leaders, which is Leclerc at the moment, because Ferrari are OP in this game. But to be honest, I'm just glad it isn't a Red Bull.
But before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Leclerc, Verstappen, and Sergio Perez. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Just a quick note from me before we head into the Grand Prix. Everyone talks about getting Oscar Piastri as your teammate, but Liam Lawson is a phenomenal qualifier, considering he's finished ahead of both a Williams and an Aston Martin there. He's one to go for too.
Here in the coastal shores of Florida for the Miami Grand Prix, which has become the 11th Formula One track held in the United States. The grandstands are packed for what we hope is going to be another fantastic race. With great opportunities for wheel-to-wheel battles featuring 19 corners, 3.36 miles long and expected average speeds of 138 miles per hour, the Miami International Autodrome will be sure to create lots of chances to overtake. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Sainz, George Russell and Hamilton, Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Ocon and Kevin Magnussen, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, Pierre Gasly and Ricciardo, Joe, Vettel, Lando Norris, they've taken a grid penalty, and Alex Albon, Liam Lawson, Stroll, Latifi and the engineer. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Alrighty then, race number 2, Miami Grand Prix. Good track this one overall. Like I said, the twiddly bit's not necessary, but overall it's a pretty decent track. And once again, the rear end of my car wants to go in a different direction to the front end, but I did get a better start than I did in Bahrain, which is something to be pleased about. Swerve and a miss there on, I think that was Stroll. I'm not 100% certain. And then I kind of bottled it a little bit there after colliding with Lawson, believe it or not, my own teammate. At this point, I have got Latifi and Stroll behind me. We will see a lot of them in the opening races of this season as well. I love to get involved with the Canadians. I think I'm an honorary Canadian at this point because I keep crashing into both of them. But it shows where we're at, to be honest. We're faster than one of the Williams and we're faster than one of the Aston Martins. Just so happens to be the best driver in both of those teams are the ones that we can't actually catch. Although, as Latifi goes past there, Albon was just ahead of me. Also bear in mind that, you know, at this point I've only done one lap of Miami in an F1 car and only 2 laps of it before that in a supercar. So, still learning the track, still learning the racing lines. This bit here, I have really good traction going around that corner and really good traction going around the opening lefts and rights as well after turn 1. So, you know, I find some good points here, and I did then use what I'd learnt here when I went back and raced in career mode for racing games. We did a race on stream as well where I didn't do as well because the AI was a little bit harder. This is nice to see though. Stroll up alongside me here. I imagine he's got his overtake button, and for a brief moment there I was actually pulling ahead of him again. He then decides to just yeet across the front of me, which I'm pretty sure is allowed, but I would be on the radio right now saying report him to the FIA, report him to the CIA, report him to all the IAs. We need to stop this man, he's dangerous. Where are we at in terms of the video right now? So we're going to clips of different parts of the race, that's it. So just going around various corners. You could probably work out by now that not a lot happens in this race. We're not breaking records or setting headlines or anything like that. Into lap 3, DRS is enabled. Flying around the first corner there. This curb on the left, avoid at all costs around turn 2. If you catch it, it will spin you out. This back straight here, I think it's one of the longest straights in F1, and it is pretty fun to drive, particularly as you saw in lap 1 racing Stroll. If you've got someone alongside you or just behind you, it is a lot of fun to really like take them on and see what they're made of. And Miami does have a few of those areas. So this section here, I think Tom's showing it, or in a second here, we got the final, and this apparently was my fastest lap of the race as well. So at this point I was nailing these corners. There's turn 1, keep off the curb here in turn 2, this is where I found really good traction. I'm following the racing line here, but I found out in my career mode race, the AI tends to stick to the left. So if you get good traction out of 2, go around the inside of 3, and you can make up like 2 or 3 places, depending on who's there. Same thing here. Obviously, I run wide here. By the time I came back with my Williams, I knew what I was doing. You can get a good line up the inside there as well. Obviously, you're turning in a little tighter into the hairpin, but you can still make up some places there on a lower AI. Don't think you'd be able to do it on 110, but you could certainly do it. I reckon up to 70, 75 AI. You could make a couple of overtakes there as well. At least one, definitely at least one. Again, in my career mode, I actually managed to snatch one here as well, which I was pretty proud of. And even around the outside here, which again, you probably wouldn't be able to do in real life. But I can do things in this game that you can't do in real life, mainly because I'm not putting my own life in danger. I think there was a cut there as well, so there must have been a flashback, which is fair enough. Again, I'm not hiding the flashbacks. It's just you don't need to see me going in reverse for a little bit. So I'll try and remember to tell you where flashbacks took place. Charles Leclerc has won the race. He's absolutely storming it. And to be honest, in real life races, he would be leading the championship right now had his car not gone bang, clatter, clatter, clatter all the time. Coming around the final corners here then, crossing the line. The way this is going to work now then is we're going to show the results of Miami. We're going to have Alex Jakes talk to us for a bit, and then we're going to go show the highlights of both Bahrain and Miami. So sit back and watch as we go through the results here, and then we'll come back for the highlights of both races in just a second.
Here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Ferme then. What a fantastic race. Tell me, Anne, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix. And they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there. So let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Well, my driver of the day has to be Charles Leclerc. He was unstoppable out on the track today, weaving through the competition with ease.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improved their position in the championship. Been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
So there's Charles Leclerc with the Grand Slam qualifying pole, fastest lap, winning the race. He's an excellent driver, both in-game and in real life. Very, very good driver. His move on Hamilton round Copse. First of all, he vindicated Hamilton from last year. Funny enough, if you don't cut across the front of a guy going around one of the fastest corners in the world, you won't get yeeted into the barriers. Who knew? But, you know, we live and we learn, don't we? So that was good. And just, you know, he takes the fight to Max. He overtook him 3 times on track in Austria. There was no pit stop strategy needed to get past him. It was all done on track pretty much. But here's the highlights of Bahrain then. You can see very, very slow going through turn 1. And the slower you are, the harder it is to get traction going out of the corners, because you end up spinning the back wheels. And to be honest, alongside Stroll and Latifi there, once again the straight line speed kicks in and they just leave me for dead, or at least Stroll starts to, until I pull wide here and, you know, bomb up the inside. Very, very brave. Again, damage is reduced. It's not off, it is reduced. So I think it was here. I picked up some front wing damage at some point, and I was tempted to flashback. And I thought, actually, I want to see what damage is like in this game. So I left it as it was. And I lost a little bit of turning, but overall, there is less downforce in the front wing this year, depending on what setup you go for, of course. And it is noticeable. It is noticeable in that, well, it's noticeable in that it's not noticeable, if that makes sense. So I took damage, but it didn't really feel like it was affecting steering too much. If anything, it was affecting braking more than actual steering. I was still able to make the apex of certain corners. But I might have had to have braked a little bit earlier in order to make the apex of those corners, which is fine. You know, that's something, if you cause damage to yourself, which, let's be honest, I caused damage to myself, then you've kind of just got to live with that, haven't you? This is the end of the Bahrain highlights then. Like I said, not really much happening in the opening races of this series, but it will pick up. I will start getting more overtakes. We'll start making more things happen. That's a really nice graphic, actually. That does actually genuinely look like a graphic from the game, so good job, Tom. Here's the US Grand Prix highlights then. Technically, it's the Miami Grand Prix, but consider it like next year as well. There's going to be 3 races in the USA. So you're going to have the US Grand Prix, which is going to be at COTA, Circuit of the Americas. Then you're going to have the Miami Grand Prix, which is at Miami... Is it Miami International Circuit, or is it just the Miami Circuit? I can't remember. I think it's International Circuit. And then you're going to have the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which is going to be held in Las Vegas, obviously. And again, I don't know what the track's called. I think it's just called the Las Vegas Street Circuit or something like that. Here's me fighting the Canadian twins then. Stroll and Latifi. I do actually like the fact that I am fighting these guys still. I don't think Latifi or Stroll are bad drivers, by the way. You know, it's fun to make fun of them, as it were. But I don't think they're bad drivers. Stroll putting it on pole in Turkey, was it not? Was very, very impressive. And, you know, he drives well in the wet. He's had a podium in Baku from 2018, I want to say, 2019. He is a driver. He can drive a car. It's not helpful that they're in slow cars this year. Certainly Latifi, he's struggled in his Williams for the last, 3 years now? 2 years? 2 years. They might get an opportunity, you never know. Lance is never going to get kicked out of the Aston, so that's pretty much settled. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And, of course, if you're enjoying the series, drop some comments down below. Let me know how to improve the car, the team, co-drivers, all that. Say co-drivers again. Teammate, you know what I mean. And besides all that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. Go outside, enjoy the sun, enjoy the rest of your days. And until next time, I will see you soon.